All right. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Bishop's Corner. Tonight, we are discussing to be a man, being a man, and we have a very exciting panel and our wonderful host, Bishop Dr. Herbert M. Scott, who's going to be pitching this amazing subject. But we have a video for you that we're going to watch before we jump into it. So stay tuned and listen in. Here we go. Don't forget to leave your comments in the comment box.
I can't hide myself. I don't expect you to understand. I just hope I can explain what it's like to be a man. It's a lonely road, and they don't care about what you know. It's not about how you feel, but what you provide inside that home.
Too much pressure on my shoulders, it gets tough to be the person bringing in the bread and be the lover that you need. But self-care, yeah, I had to let go. I'd be lying if I told you that it never takes a toll on my mind. I need someone to save me, but I have to be the one who's saving you. When you're exhausted, I'm the shoulder where you mend. Gotta stay strong, what can I do when
I can't hide myself? I don't expect you to understand. I just hope I can explain what it's like to be a man. It's a lonely road, and they don't care about what you know. It's not about how you feel, but what you provide inside that home.
I know a lot of men don't feel the same, but I don't feel ashamed. Letting the water fall when my heart's ablaze. Daddy taught me that was how to put a fire out. So when I'm hurting, I don't mind to cry my eyes out. I only have a few examples of a man in my life, and only one who made perfection lifelike. So I try to remember 2 words when I don't know what to do. Don't forget Jesus wept and brother, so can you.
I can't hide myself. I don't expect you to understand. I just hope I can explain what it's like to be a man. It's a lonely road, and they don't care about what you know. It's not about how you feel, but what you provide inside that home.
They say it's all in my head, and I guess that makes sense, cause everything I feel, I keep in, cause it's different for men. We talk about our feelings, we're called oversensitive. We're asked to strike a balance, it doesn't exist. So we bottle everything up in our minds. We grow cold, dark and numb as we slowly die. You ever wonder why it's mostly men who commit suicide? We figure why now we're already dead.
I can't hide myself. I don't expect you to understand. I just hope I can explain what it's like to be a man. It's a lonely road, and they don't care about what you know. It's not about how you feel, but what you provide inside that home.
You picked me up when I was broken. You pieced together words that when I spoken. You found a way to see me as I was, even when the world doesn't show you the same love. You're expecting to do everything on your own, provide and then hide all the feelings that you hold. But your heart is deserving of showing. I see you for who you are. I hope that you know it.
I can't hide myself. I don't expect you to understand. I just hope I can explain what it's like to be a man. It's a lonely road, and they don't care about what you know. It's not about how you feel, but what you provide.
provide. I was made for this, I'm a father of 7. My oldest is 20, my youngest 11. And they all gotta eat, so I bury my feelings and stay on my feet like they told me. Gotta be grown, they told me. You're on your own, they told me. But we're not alone, they showed me.
I can't hide myself. I don't expect you to understand. I just hope I can explain what it's like to be a man. It's a lonely road, and they don't care about what you know. It's not about how you feel, but what you provide inside that home.
Yeah, patiently waiting for God to show me signs I need. I'm not the man for the job, all the things I can't be. Put all my feelings aside, I think that I'll be better off when I'm not alive. Fought through depression for years and I try to hide it. Almost put pressure and pulled it, but I decided to give it all that I can. But this what it's like to be a man.
I can't hide myself. I don't expect you to understand.
Yeah, okay. That is several versions of the song "To Be a Man." It was written by different art. These chapters were written by different artists to express how they felt about this song that they heard from Dax. So we're going to be talking about that tonight. I'm going to introduce our wonderful host, the Bishop of Liberty Hall Cathedral of Praise in Brooklyn, Bishop Dr. Herbert N. Scott. Bishop, go ahead.
Well, thank you, Dr. Phil. Certainly, it's a pleasure one more time to be on the Bishop's Corner. And thank you very, very much for that wonderful introduction, young man. Well, tonight we have a very, very special program. Part 4, physical strength and mental fortitude. Physical strength and mental fortitude. Let me at this time just welcome the beautiful panel that we have. It's been said, ladies before gentlemen, so let's do it tonight. Okay, we are honored to have Tatiana Rennie that's with us. Can we make her feel welcome? Can we make her feel welcome? Thank you, Tatiana, for weighing in tonight. Certainly, it's a pleasure to have you once again on the Bishop's Corner. Next, we want to thank God for Whitney Colbrin that's with us. Beautiful young lady. Can we just make her feel welcome tonight on the Bishop's Corner? Certainly, young lady, it's a pleasure to have you on tonight. Next, we want to thank the good Lord for the Apostle Lucian Roas that is with us. Man of God, always indeed a pleasure to see you. God bless you richly. Okay, then we want to thank God for Rashawn Trower that's back with us. Rashawn, always a pleasure, young man, to have you on the Bishop's Corner. Next, we want to thank the Lord for Drew Delaney that's with us. Drew, it is a pleasure to have you, and thank God for the wisdom that you will show forth tonight. Okay, we are certainly blessed to have you all on tonight. Is that Coach? Is he coming on also, Doc?
Yes, sir.
Coach Clavin, God bless you, Coach. Pleasure indeed to have you on the Bishop's Corner. Well, we thank God for the panel tonight. And somehow I don't think we will get past question number 1. Question number 1. Well, let me just introduce the first question right now. The question for our consideration is, how does Dax portray physical strength and mental fortitude in To Be a Man? Please remember, in one of the verses, it's been said that Jesus wept. So can you as a man. So let me put that question, first of all, to Drew. Drew, how does Dax portray physical strength and mental fortitude in To Be a Man?
Well, the physical strength piece, it was, I had to think long and hard how I could articulate that. To me, when you show mental fortitude, it's important to feel strong physically, especially in your heart, to be able to care enough to be authentic. And you know, there are times when we have challenges and we let our everything physical go because we're worried more about our mental aspect. In my life, I've had a challenge if I'm battling something mentally. For me to keep going physically has been a challenge, and to be able to do both at the same time, Dax has shown that we as men, we can be multidimensional. We don't need to be a one-dimensional man. We can address every aspect of ourself, both physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, simultaneously. And that's what he portrayed in that video. And it gives me some inspiration and hope.
Okay, great. Well, Dax, I'm sorry, Drew, let me ask you this question. Is it really hard for you then to be a man?
You know, I think it all depends on how I define what it is to be a man. And for a long time, I was going by the definition of outside of me, mainstream media and people who surrounded me. I have come in the last 5 years to define what it is to be a man differently from what mainstream has told me being a man is. I'm a firm believer in embracing my masculinity and not believing that it's toxic. My masculinity, me personally, is staying in power with my integrity, my authenticity, and my truths. I believe I'm a provider, and I believe that I respect men and women as both being providers. So for me to be a man is to be able to be multidimensional and be strong in the masculine sense, and also be empathic and compassionate. So I personally am redefining what it means to man up, because it means let's use both our feminine and our masculine energy. So that is my definition of being a man. And with that definition, I am very secure.
With that definition, you should be secure, young man. Thank you much. Okay, let's hear from Rashawn. The question is, how does Dax portray physical strength and mental fortitude in that song?
I think that he portrays the physical strength more so through emotional and mental strength, as well as the fortitude, because he's talking about all of the emotional struggles that we go through being a man. And one of the artists even mentioned how the suicide rate in men is even higher than it is in women, which is really understandable because emotionally we're holding in so much, you know. As men, we definitely understand what we're going through, and so that's the way I feel that Dax portrayed the strength.
So let me ask you a question then, young man. Is it required in a man that he be physically and mentally superior?
Well, no, because there's always going to be someone physically stronger, more athletic, physically better than you at something. But and mentally, I believe you should be a master of yourself more so than looking to be superior over other people. Mentally, you know, learn how to control yourself, learn how to control your emotions, learn how to communicate your thoughts effectively without having to raise your voice, without having to lose your temper, without having to show your emotions, whether you're upset or whether you're happy. You know, a lot of people may be more receptive when you're happy, but if you can't control yourself when you're upset, then you know you won't be able to communicate effectively.
Okay, thank you much, young man. Okay, let's go to the Apostle. Apostle, how does Dax portray physical strength and mental fortitude in his song?
Yeah, Bishop, that's a balancing act, and to be mental fortitude and then to be strong physically. Well, we know that men carry a large portion of testosterone, and that helps with the muscles and the strength and so forth. But the Bible do talk about the outward man and the inward man.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the outward man perish, and a man could have tattoo on his biceps, and he could have broad shoulders and, you know, biceps and triceps, and he can still be soft and hurting on the inside in terms of dealing with mental fortitude, in terms of dealing with stress, in terms of dealing with pain. I think I read somewhere where two of the most painful thing one could experience is the birth of a child, which I would never experience, and the other one is the passing of a kidney stone. And women can certainly be a pain. They know how to deal with pain. And so sometimes we as men, we break down, even though we act strong on the outside, but that inward man, a lot can take place. That's why in Proverbs 4:23, it says, guard your heart with all diligence, or garrison your heart, for out of it are the issues of life. And I tell you, once we're living, there will be issues. I don't care how deep you are, what title you have to your name, issues come to everybody, whether it's mentally, physically, whether it's financially, relation-wise, health-wise, you name it. There will be challenges in life. It's the human condition. And that's why Paul said, my strength is made perfect in weakness. And that if you're looking for perfection, for God to use us, I don't think any one of us will be qualified. Listen, brethren, this doesn't sound like a cop-out, but we all, if you look deep enough, there's a flaw somewhere, but I still thank God that he has chosen us, So like I said, it's a balancing act in terms of mental fortitude and physical strength. Yeah, we might be able to lift stronger than a woman, but what about mentally? So it's certainly a balancing act, and we need each other. The Bible talks about helpmate. She will help us meet our needs. The area that she's not proficient, we can, and vice versa. So, like I said, it's a balancing act where we can reach out to one another. But being strong as a man, so now we define it as how much weight you can lift. But I think the strength of a man is doing household chores, changing a Pampers, or giving a baby a bottle, or washing the dishes. That's manhood.
Mhm.
That's not being soft, Yeah.
Thank you much. Apostle, let me put this question to you. What is so much mental stress placed on men?
Well, sometimes unrealistic expectations. You're the man, as we would say, as a term. You're the man, and you got this, and you're supposed to take care of everything. And then the wife and the children look up to daddy as the man. I think there was a story somewhere where this little guy was following his father in a storm. And when they came home, the wife was saying she was so worried and troubled. And the little boy with his naive self said, I was not afraid because daddy was with me. And sometimes we see daddy as the one to take care of everything. But who can daddy go to when he's hurting? He doesn't want to look soft. He doesn't want to look weak. He doesn't want to look vulnerable. And so we put up this tough facade. But we as men, sometimes we can be carrying a lot on the inside. The inward man could be hurting. That's why it's so good when men can meet with men and be transparent and be vulnerable and be open. I think it's therapeutic. I think it helps, so yeah.
Apostle, when a woman sees a man crying, what would be going through your mind as to how she's thinking about me? I'm crying, I'm a man.
Well, I think I don't know if I have any statistics, but I think women cry more than men. Generally speaking, women are more emotional. Maybe I hope I'm not wrong. But when they see a man cry, is like, wow, he's crying. He is the one that's supposed to be mentally tough. And sometimes, like I said, our kids look up to us as role models. And when they see us cry, if that could send the wrong message. I've cried. Some men are more emotional than others. Some men will do, no matter what they go through, they will grind their teeth, they will put up a strong face, they would never cry when the mother died, when the father died, when the child died. And some men, they begin to talk and they break down. Everybody's different. We don't paint them with a broad brush. But yeah, we show emotion in different ways. And sometimes I remember I was going through a lot. I'm a pastor. I've been a pastor for 4 decades. I went in the office and cried. I really cried in my office. And then I wiped my eyes. It was a little red, but I came out and smiled before the church because I don't want them to see me as weak. You know, they might think, oh my, if pastor goes down, we all go down. You strike the shepherd and the sheep scatter, right? And so sometimes we hide it on the inside. We don't want people to see it. You know, that's why I feel so good when men can open and share without being judgmental. Like I was in a gym at Planet Fitness, and it says big sign, always, you always see the sign, no judgment zone. Boy, and sometimes we could face that in the church sometimes. Wow. You know, but no judgment zone. You know, I mean, that make you feel. I usually say the 10 lepers, they were together. You know why? They were not threatened. They were not intimidated. They had similar experiences. They wasn't fearful of being judged because they had the same experience. They were together in one place. They stood afar off. They understand each other's plight and dilemma. So when men can come together, it's such a powerful thing where we could understand each other.
Well said indeed, young man. Okay, we're so honored tonight to have Coach Clevon with us. Coach, the question for our consideration is, how does Dax portray physical strength and mental fortitude in his song?
Hey, Bishop. Oh man, what a blessing to be on the Zoom with this distinguished panel, and I want to thank Dr. Phil for another opportunity. I apologize in advance. I have such a unfortunate schedule this evening, but I'm glad I can jump on now, and I may have to jump off, but then I'll be able to get back on. But hey, when I hear that song, Bishop, and any rendition, I feel like I just hear a lot of pain. I think I feel pain. I think I feel pain that is general for men, but I think I feel an individual pain that only Dax could probably explain. Because as a man, I've experienced pain from a mental or physical perspective in this country that you may understand, Bishop, but my brother Drew would not understand. And I know Drew. I know Drew's perspective of spending an hour and a half with him, and he's a man. He's a phenomenal man on a universal level. He's done it all, seen it all, but his pain, he will never understand my pain as an African American, a Black man in the country. It just is impossible. The beautiful sister line, very close, very close. I will not understand their pain, as being women unprotected historically and going through the level of gender bias that they experience, but they won't understand my specific pain as a man. I don't know what Dak's story is, but I know that when I get on the elevator and go up to the 21st floor of a high rise in Houston, and I watch the nice, 40-year-old, 50-year-old, 60-year-old white women clutch their purses, I'm immune to it right now, but psychologically, I understand the process I had to go through to be so vilified objectively, and to also deal with being a permanent threat in society. You understand, until you've experienced that, most of you may have not, because you're not 6'2", you're not dark melanated, you're not 260 pounds. So my issues of being a man in this country, you probably can't relate to, like, as if I can't relate to yours. And I don't know what Dax's pain came from, but there was pain there. There was pain there from a perspective that what most people don't understand is the masculinity of an African man in this country has been the number one threat historically. So how do you place that? How do you define that individual experience when your actual nature is public enemy number one? Can you come on now, how deep do we go? And that's what I've, lived and experienced. And so I would say that, you'd have to really sit down with a lot of different men and really analyze into, what their experience has been. I just heard a lot of pain in his voice. It is a balancing act between the masculinity, the physical, and the psychological dynamics of experience. But that's kind of what I'm feeling and what I've felt as I've listened to the song a couple of times.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Well said indeed. The question that I would like to put to you is this. As we're listening to that song, okay, Dax places a lot of emphasis on a few words. Words like, don't give up fighting. And why do you think he places so much emphasis on those words? Don't give up fighting.
Well, I'll keep it short and sweet because there's so many men of God on this line that are understand theology, that understand scripture. I know there's somewhere in the great book where it says, "Hey, man, you got to die every day." Somewhere in scripture says, "Be transformed by the renewal of your mind." You don't give up because you're an ever evolving being. And next month or next year, your value should increase. Next month, next year, you should conquer certain character defects. Next month, next year, a couple years down the road, your ego should be more refined. And as you grow in self-mastery or God consciousness, I think you're able to handle the ills of society. It says live in this world, but not of it, right? So at the end of the day, you can't give up because you're ever evolving. You're not a permanent thing. And you're going to continue to grow and get better and get greater and have other experiences. So don't define yourself by what you see in the present moment. Keep evolving, keep fighting, and go through that metamorphosis that a caterpillar goes through when it becomes a butterfly, right? So always something great to look forward to. Yeah, and you're going to get strong.
But Coach, honestly, you sound like a minister. Wow, I am impressed. Okay, let me put that same question to the men before we should hear from the ladies. Dax puts a lot of emphasis on the words, don't give up, keep fighting. Why do you think he goes so much into that? Men. Well, if the men won't answer,
I'll answer. When we hear the word fight, there's an impulse to think that it's a physical fight, and I believe the fight Dax is talking about is honestly the internal mental fight of not giving up, the resilience of the heart, the resilience of the gut, the resilience of the mind. Because if we give up internally, we're going to be giving up physically. So I believe he's really talking about the intestinal fortitude of mental resilience, not don't give up the fight. Because once you give up who you are inside, the physical doesn't matter.
Amen. Amen. Anyone else like to weigh in before we should hear from the ladies?
Go ahead. Awesome.
Yeah, well, I really think Dew is right when he talks about the fight. Sometimes the physical aspect comes to mind, but I read somewhere in Nehemiah where he says, "Fight for your land, fight for your house, fight for your family." That doesn't mean physically, what I mean, but it's psychologically, mentally, spiritually. You're in a warfare. You're in a fight for your life. You know what I mean? Paul said, "I fight a good fight of faith." It doesn't mean that he was out there drawing swords and killing people, even though he did that before he got, converted. But in this sense, it wasn't physical. It was more mental. And we as men, we got to keep fighting, man. We got to keep fighting. There's so many forces that is pulling and tugging at us to be a father, to be a husband, to be a leader, to be a priest, to be, you got to keep fighting. It's a challenge every day. You got to battle.
Amen. Rashawn?
I was saying that we have to continue to fight, because if we continue to give up at any time that there's an impasse or that there's any sign of difficulty, we'll never build up that muscle, in order to be able to get past those obstacles. So we from young, we're taught that we have to fight consistently, and even as adults, we're taught that we have to fight. We have to continue to fight, continue, because if not, then you'll just fold it every time that something gets difficult.
Okay, beautiful. Well said indeed. And I do agree with you, definitely. Now let's hear from the ladies. Okay, the question is, how does Dax portray physical strength and mental fortitude in To Be a Man? Tatiana, how say you?
Hello, everyone. Sorry. Okay. So I agree, in order to be able to to have the physical and mental strength, there has to be a balance, right? So I would use the analogy of anyone in sports at the gym. You're working out, you're trying to make that last rep. A lot of it, it's all mental. It's truly mental. You don't give up, unless you're just totally mentally exhausted already at that point. And I feel like Dax, he portrays it in his music by talking about all the adversities and challenges that men go through. He's very, very clear in like, you're going through a lonely road. You don't cry. You don't show emotions, all the challenges that men are living. And you hear it in his, this video that we saw today, not only by Dax, by other musicians talking about these challenges. So to me, he did a beautiful portrayal of expressing the adversities that men go through in many facets of life, being a provider, having a family, not being able to express, nobody cares about what they're going through, feeling very alone in this journey, even though they're surrounded by so many people. So I do believe that, in order for him to have that mental fortitude, it does equate to the balance of his physical strength.
Okay. Let me put this question to you, Tatiana. Okay. Dax said in the song, they don't know what you're worth till the day that you die. How do you feel about that? Do you agree with him?
I think that's a really loaded statement right there. I feel like this is a man that feels that he is not being appreciated. He feels that they're going to know what my worth is the day that I die, that I can't provide, that I'm not there to protect. But it's a double-edged sword, because you could definitely have somebody, a woman or a partner, that does know your worth. And I think that a lot of times men don't realize just exactly how important they are to their significant other, right? They're missing that piece. So they're walking this lonely journey because they feel that no one else is validating their worth in that relationship.
Well said. Okay, let me put that same question to the panel. Anyone like to weigh in? They don't know what you're worth till the day that you die. True, false? How say you?
I'll just go in and say it's not necessarily they don't know what you're worth until the day you die, but it's one of those things where you never know what you have until it's no longer there. You take for granted who you're with and around every single day, but then when that person's gone, you miss them more than anything, more than you ever thought that you would. So that's the way I don't think it's like till death.
Okay, anyone else like to weigh in on that?
Well, there's a saying, you don't miss the water until the well runs dry. And sometimes, man, I know they talk about women being emotional and they want to be loved and men need to be respected. But we sometimes as men work hard, provide, make sacrifices. I'm not saying women don't do that too. And sometimes we are talked to in such a disrespectful manner and not being appreciated. And we have done so much, go out of our way to be the priest, to be the provider, to be the protector. And he's saying, hey, when I'm gone, then you're going to realize my worth. But while I'm there, I need to be loved and appreciated. So men need that too. Don't think we're macho and we're good and we're tough and we got an ego. We don't care. Yeah, we need to be validated. We need to be affirmed. We need to be appreciated. We need to be validated. We need to be loved too. While we're alive, while we breathe, while we can, smell roses too.
Drew, I see you. I know. Go ahead, please.
I'm feeling this, and I'm looking at Whitney right now, because Whitney and I are collaborating on a project of understanding how men and women think. and it's crucial. And what I think Dax is saying about only appreciating us when we're gone. If you guys have read the book, The Five Love Languages, many men, and they may not admit it, their love language is words of affirmation. And for many men, just to hear a woman say, thank you, or I appreciate you, or something like that, it does more for a man than many women know. And it makes me think about when somebody passes and we go to a wake, right? And you hear all the wonderful things people are saying around that individual who's in the casket. And my question lately to people there, not to make them feel bad, it's more to challenge them for the people still alive to say, we're saying this while the person's gone and we're hoping they can hear us. How about we start telling people to their face while they're alive what we think about them? And I think the more we do that, the less people like Dax may feel resentment that when I'm dead, you'll know how important I am. I'd love to hear it when I'm alive, how important I am.
Okay, well said indeed. So, Apostle, let me ask you this question, sir. How do you feel about me?
I really appreciate you, Bishop Scott. You know that, man. Like I said, if Bishop Scott called me 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm telling my wife, listen, I gotta go. Bishop Scott need me, and I genuinely say that. And no matter how he respond to me, I told him all the time, I see him as my big brother. He can correct me anytime, and I wouldn't be sensitive and pull back. I would love him even more. You know what I mean? When you trust somebody like that, the Bible said Jonathan loved David as his own soul. He would take an arrow for him. That's deep. That's covenant. And that's how I feel to you, Pastor Scott. And I'm not saying this to toot my horn or to make you feel good. I genuinely mean that.
Thank you, young man. Okay, those of you that's on the panel, I paid him very well. Okay, now the question is, how does Dax portray physical strength and mental fortitude in his song? And she's waited so long. Whitney, it's now in your hands, young lady.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation to be here tonight. As somebody that is really passionate about understanding not only men and women, but the masculine and the feminine energy that is within all of us and trying to find that balance, I'm happy to weigh in on this conversation. And something that sticks out to me that I haven't heard mentioned yet is that he shows that he is so strong that he's actually walled up, that he's detached, that he's wants to hide. But talking to the woman, obviously this song is a message of, I'm a man and you're not. So it's a message to the women saying, you want me to be sensitive, you want me to be all these things, but you also want me to take care of everything without a peep and overwork myself. And like, it's a frustration of people and women wanting men to be all things. From my perspective, that's what I see, that he talks about the hiding. We all wear a mask, right? We all toughen up when we need to, or put on a nice face or whatever. But he says, I can't hide anymore. Like, here I am breaking down in front of you. It happens. And obviously, after so much that so many men have been through, they're usually the ones doing the hard jobs, the labor, the war, all those things. But people say the future is female. And I think the future is becoming more balanced because the feminine has been repressed for a long time, and it's starting to come out in its power. But the future is not female. The future needs to be both. And we need to have these conversations and understand each other and the pressures that we're under and how to communicate and bridge that gap, unify and be on the same side, because it's not about a war between the men and the women. It's about the war between ourselves and the upward battle versus the downward slide.
Well said indeed, young lady. Let me put this question to you and also the panel, to those that would like to weigh in. What do you think were some of Dax's childhood memories why he wrote that song? childhood memories why you wrote that song.
Well, he mentions the son and the father. So, and he also mentions that it's a circle and a cycle. And I think it's not just about his own memories, which are in there, but it's about everybody and this cycle that we all go through, right? The young, courageous, sometimes stupid young men versus the older, wiser, grayer, or balder men that have that wisdom. And I think that, that's what I really take from this is the cycle. And he also talks about the bottle, reaching for the bottle when you get at the low end of the cycle. So there's that cycle too of hiding again from the pain. And it's like men not being allowed to cry and allowed to talk and allowed to be weak is just exacerbating the problem and making it worse. And sometimes we need a little valve to let off the steam, to let something out so that we can keep going in a healthy, functional way. It's mechanics, right? Spiritual mechanics. But if we don't let that out, we can explode. And it's okay to cry. Like my dad cried in the movie Shrek, I remember. So I grew up with a man that did not believe that men can't cry. But I've seen others and how hard that can be on them.
Beautiful. Anyone else like to weigh in on that? Okay, if not, then we only have approximately 16 minutes left. Let's just impinge on the next question. Okay, what lessons can men learn about maintaining physical health, overcoming challenges, and fostering personal growth from the song? Okay, let's put that first of all to Rashawn. How say you?
When it comes to the physical health, go to the doctor, man. A lot of us men, we think that it doesn't hurt or I'm fine, nothing's wrong. Go to the doctor. A lot of our men are afraid of routine checkups, and even worse, a lot of us have a stigma about getting a colonoscopy. And there's a lot of jokes about it and everything, but like, listen, man, we've lost so many people, and it got really, really popularized about going to get your colonoscopy when we lost the actor, Mr. Chadwick Boseman, who played Black Panther, and Jackie Robinson, he played, a lot of biopics and things like that. But like, just that's my main take from it. Like, stop being so stubborn, get out of your own head, stop listening to your friends, or if they give you bad advice, listen to your friends who are giving you good advice. Go to the doctor, man. Maintain your personal health, maintain your mental health, maintain your physical health. Go to the doctor and maintain good relationships.
Well said indeed. I do agree with you, young man, 100%. Drew, how say you?
Well, I've been doing a lot of research, and I love finding data that's accurate and then telling a story about it and put it into context. And one of the biggest pieces of data that I've read and that I've researched is that 85% of physical ailments are due to unaddressed internal stress. And so when we simultaneously address what we're feeling inside while we are proactively taking care of our physical body, that's the balance we need to look at. Too often, we'll experience stuff internally, whether it's mental stress, and not address it. And the body is trying to tell us certain things internally. And when we ignore it, it finally says, fine, I give up. You're not listening to me. Here's a migraine. Here's cancer. Here's a backache. And what we usually do as human beings, the physical pain, we pay attention to. And some of us will go to the doctor, or we'll have our significant other, because she will be the one to tell us to get to the doctor. I think it's very important, though, to be your own advocate, because many physicians out there, and I worked in healthcare for 24 years, if you don't go to an appropriate physician, they're going to not ask you the right questions, and they may put you on a pharmaceutical drug that's going to mask the root cause. So while I implore, yes, taking care of your physical health, and when you need to go to the doctor, do your research and make sure. I mean, I will say that the best physicians are the ones who are going to ask you a lot of open-ended questions, saying how is your sleep? What types of stress are you under? What's your diet look like? How much do you exercise? All those questions relate to that inside things that we've been ignoring, that end up coming in physically. So yeah, I totally agree. Go to the doctor when you need to, but take care of that internal stuff. Don't ignore it. And if you do experience the physical stuff, do go to somebody who's appropriate, who's going to align with your beliefs and your standards. Don't just believe what they say. Don't know if I went off on a tangent, because you hit something there. Being in healthcare for 24 years, because I've seen it all. But thank you for giving me the opportunity to respond.
Beautiful. Well said indeed, young man. Let me ask you a quick question. We only have about 10 minutes left. Being physically fit by itself is a natural mood lifter. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Being physically fit by itself is a mood lifter. It lifts your mood. Would you agree or disagree?
I would. Geez, I think of short term and long term. It'll help on the short term if you're not doing it consistently. I think if you do it consistently, it'll help in the long term. I look at delayed gratification versus immediate gratification, and I find it's much more important to go for the delayed gratification, the endurance piece, because that releases serotonin in the body, which is the enduring chemical that makes you feel good, as opposed to the immediate gratification that gives you the quick dopamine fix that feels great, and then it dies off really quickly. So consistency of your physical health will give you the endurance to feel good all the time. And not by itself, though. You got to work here at the same time. So I guess that's how I'd answer that.
Okay. Wish we had some more time. Okay. The question is, what lessons can men learn about maintaining physical health, overcoming challenges, and fostering personal growth from the song? Let's put that to Whitney at this time.
So he mentions in the song that nobody cares about his broken heart. And those are the kind of things that would cause you to not seek mental health or help or therapy or coaching or spiritual guidance. Is nobody cares.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Nobody.
And yet that's exactly the thing that will perpetuate the cycle, when he says that you become just like your dad, and you don't want to let your kids see that and start a generational curse. So, yeah.
Okay, Dr. Loud and clear, young lady. Thank you much. Okay, Tatiana, how say you, young lady?
I think that men can learn from their mistakes and criticisms, be open to change. Definitely while being open to change, pursue medical, listen to their bodies, listen to what they're going through. They're going through a difficult time. It does portray in our health, right? Our bodies keep the score to everything that we're going through. So definitely follow up with your medical and also mental. There's a balance, right? There's a balance with everything, our body, our mind, and our soul. I always go with the tripartite soul. So in order to be able to live a healthy and balanced life, but definitely in order to do that, you have to be open to the change.
Okay, I hear you. Thank you much. Okay, Apostle Lucien Rojas, my friend, how say you?
Yeah, about maintaining our physical health. There's a saying that Father Time has never been defeated. And when we get older, aches and pains and, our sight is challenged. Just physically, we are challenged. And, of late, I take more of a holistic approach as far as the kingdom of God is concerned. I remember in the late 70s, 80s, when I just got saved, it was only about the spiritual. And everything else would fall apart and be just spiritual. And I believe one of the most balanced chapters in the Bible is Ecclesiastes chapter 3, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to, you know, for everything under the sun. And like even on June 1st, we're having a breakfast at the church, and I'm bringing a fitness coach, a real estate licensed person, and I am doing a bit on investing and taking a more holistic approach. The scripture said, teaching them to observe all things, all things. And, you know, the Bible is a book of life. It's about life in general. And so I remember the early days when people would flush the pill down the toilet and say they trust God for healing. And I think we have evolved and we have come full circle, and there's more knowledge, information. People are more tuned to findings, like Dew says. I was preaching on Sunday, and I was preaching on the power of influence, about good influence and bad influence. I think there's a was a documentary on Netflix, You Are What You Eat. But I want to see you can become who you feed from, who you feed into, not physically, but psychologically and so forth. You know, who you're giving your air to. And so I believe in, we would think that, you know, in church you're having a breakfast, why are you gonna have a fitness coach? That's for the gym, that's for outside of the church. But how many people are sick in church because we don't take care of ourselves? Remember, this is the temple of the Holy Spirit now, and we got to take care of this and eating and there's so much data now, because the Bible said that the last days knowledge shall increase. There's so much findings. I was telling the church on Sunday, there are so much things in the scripture that we're not aware of or don't see in terms of research. When Moses tell him to spy the land, that's research, that's finding, that's a poll. We can't deny these things and brush them aside. They are part of our lives. So our physical being is important. I mean, if you're not physically fit, how are you going to preach 45 minutes? Preaching is hard work. So you got to be in shape. You got to be, you know, I mean. And so I think this is pivotal that we be in physical as much as we can in terms of diet and exercise. And that can prevent certain things. Look, I have been close up. I have a brother right now in Trinidad. I was there a couple of months ago to visit him. He's blind. He's on dialysis. He lost a limb. He lived by himself at the time. And sometimes you have a wife. That's why two is better than one. She would say, go to the doctor. Don't eat this. When you're alone, man, when you're alone, two is better than one. A threefold cord is not quickly broken. I've up close seen what happened to people in church. The guy is talking God, but he's way overweight. He's way, and I'm not saying that in a negative way, but I'm saying, what about the physical part? Very important.
Let me ask you a question, man of God. How does being active physically help you?
Oh, listen, I can speak for myself personally. I was in the gym and I fell off the wagon. And the bad thing is the wagon fell on me. So now I have a stomach, man. And listen, most guys in this age, they would have a stomach, but I can feel it when I'm retired. When I'm not physical exercising, I can feel my body speaks to me. The joints get tighter. You're out of breath when you climb the stairs. When you are exercising, man, the Bible says bodily exercise profiteth. And you got to be. You know, it helps you mentally when you feel better about yourself, like you were saying, even though it's short-term gratification to give you a boost, you know, a brisk walk in the morning, you know, pumping a little iron is okay.
Okay. Blood pressure, definitely. Okay, boost the level of your cholesterol, the good cholesterol. So many things happens when we are really active. Now listen, ladies and gentlemen, we only have 4 minutes left. We have heard a lot and we have said a lot. What should we take away from tonight's conversation? Okay, let me put that first of all to the ladies. Okay, what should we take away from tonight's conversation? Tatiana, I'll say you.
Well, I think that we should take away that there's more conversations that need to take place on being a man and the challenges and the journey that they face. But in essence, in order to have better men, we need the men to start within now in their homes. We need to have them feel comfortable in adapting to changes, you know, in order to be able to find that balance, to live healthier lives. we need to take a look at the suicide rate amongst men and why that's happening.
Mm.
And so the conversation needs to continue.
Thank you much. Okay, Whitney, what should we take away from tonight's conversation? You're muted.
Number one, to keep living, keep surviving, keep striving. It is going to be hard. It is going to be a fight, but find the balance where you need to release, where you need help, where you can open up to someone. Being human and being Christ-like is being whole, having a masculine side and a feminine side, being able to understand emotion while also being strong.
Thank you much. Okay, Rashawn.
You're muted. Unmute.
There we go. Sorry about that. My thing is, what I would take from it is just be as we were with the song. If you have a friend who is coming to you and telling you that they need to talk, be an open ear, be an unjudgmental ear, and just hear your friends out and do everything that you can to help them through this difficult time, because it is hard to talk about.
Okay, and Drew.
I would say, having been there, when you isolate yourself physically from people who care about you, or mentally with not sharing your story, that leads to inaction, not taking action. And when you don't take action, despair is the end result. It's so important to connect. Connection with other human beings and connection with yourself internally, and understanding and raising awareness will crush isolation. And when you connect, you act, you take action. And when you take action, desire is inevitable, and desire crushes despair. So I say embrace connection and reject isolation, and for both genders, and we're going to unite, and things are going to be great. And so that's what I take from today.
Fantastic. We have 30 seconds left. Apostle?
Hey, there's a saying, assumption is the mother of all mistakes. And when we assume things, but this what I take here is the awareness factor. And, information is still one of the most important commodity on planet Earth. And when we talk, it's therapeutic. When we inform others, it's a blessing.
Let's remember that it's a lonely road, so please let us connect. Ladies, it's a pleasure to have you, Whitney and Tatiana, Apostle, Drew, and Rashawn. Surely it's a pleasure to have you on the Bishop's Corner. Dr.